If losing your car in the middle of nowhere forced you to make a choice, how far would you go to get home? Because for one 22-year-old man, that choice turned into 3 murders in less than a single day. And when investigators finally asked him why, he didn't deny it. He didn't panic. He just said one sentence. It had to be done. Did you kill her? Yes. Why? I needed a car. And the others? Same thing. In March of 2026, 3 women who had never met each other were killed hours apart by the same man for the same reason. This is the case of Ivan Miller and the Utah triple homicide. Hello everyone and welcome back. Today's case takes us to Wayne County, Utah, a quiet, rural region known for its isolation, open landscapes, and long stretches of empty road. And in early March 2026, that isolation became the setting for a sequence of killings that investigators would later describe as calculated, escalating, and entirely avoidable. At the center of it all was a 22-year-old man from Iowa named Ivan Miller. Weeks before this, he'd already been arrested in Iowa for burglary and weapons charges. He was released, back on the road. There was also a prior incident. Officers found him living illegally in a state park cabin with a loaded rifle fitted with a bayonet, an AR-10, and a large stockpile of ammunition. When the ranger walked in, Miller looked up and said, "It's okay, you can arrest me now." He walked out a free man. By the time this case reached national attention, he'd already been arrested in another state with a handgun, a large knife, and the credit cards of his victims still in his possession. But to understand how this happened, we need to go back before the killings even began. In late February 2026, Miller was traveling through Utah when everything changed. While driving near Loa, he hit an elk. The collision destroyed the truck. He sold it to a tow company and checked into a local hotel. He stayed there for several days. He had options. He didn't take them. And sometime during those days, whatever he decided it quietly. Not far from where he was staying lived an 86-year-old woman named Margaret Oldroyd. She lived alone in Lyman, Utah, followed a routine, kept to herself, no connection to Ivan Miller, but at some point, she became his target. The night before the murder, Miller traveled to her property. He didn't knock. He didn't approach her. He went behind her home and entered a shed. And he stayed there overnight. He didn't act in the dark. He waited for morning, hours inside her property, knowing she would return. On March 4th, 2026, Margaret Oldroyd left her home briefly. While she was gone, Miller went inside, positioned himself behind the door. When she came home, she sat down in her living room and turned on the television. She had no idea someone was already inside. No warning. No chance to defend herself. Miller approached from behind and shot her in the head, execution style. After the shooting, he didn't flee. He stayed. He began moving the body. Investigators would later find drag marks from inside the home leading outside. It's believed he used a wheelbarrow to transport her. Then he concealed the body, not outside in the open, but in a cellar beneath an outbuilding, hidden deliberately. Then he took what he came for, her car, a Buick, and he left. He had a car, he had her credit cards. He could have been across the state line by midnight. He kept driving. And what investigators found at the next scene raised a question that still hasn't been answered. Physical evidence that doesn't match his own confession. We'll get there. Instead, he kept driving toward a rural area known as Coxcomb Trail. That same day, 2 women arrived at that trail. Linda Dewey, 65 years old, and her niece, Natalie Graves, 34. They were hiking, spending time together. They had never seen Ivan Miller before. They were at a trail on an afternoon in March. Miller saw them as they exited their vehicle. No build-up, no conversation, no argument, just a decision. According to his own statement, he acted immediately. He shot Natalie Graves first. She went down. Then he turned to Linda Dewey and shot her twice, but she didn't die immediately. She was still alive. He pulled out a knife and stabbed her multiple times in the chest, targeting the heart, making sure. After both, women were down. He dragged their bodies off the road, into a ditch near a dry creek bed, left them there, took the Subaru, left the Buick. At the scene, investigators would later find multiple .45 caliber shell casings, a blood trail leading from the roadway, drag marks showing where the bodies had been moved, and one thing that didn't fit, a single spent 20-gauge shotgun shell. Miller's confession describes a handgun. The .45 casings match that. The shotgun shell doesn't. No second weapon confirmed. No explanation offered publicly. It's still unresolved. The two women never came back. Their husbands went looking for them. Bodies in the creek bed. No movement. No response. They called 911. While first responders worked the scene, the Subaru was gone. But the Buick Miller had left behind was still in the lot. Officers ran the plates registered to Margaret Oldroyd, Lyman, Utah. That led officers to her home. When they arrived, something was wrong. Blood in the living room near where she had been sitting, drag marks leading outside, and Margaret was gone. A search was launched, and soon they found her, hidden in the cellar, exactly where Miller had left her. 3 victims, 2 locations, 1 suspect. The case shifted from investigation to manhunt. Using license plate readers and integrated tracking systems, law enforcement followed the stolen Subaru's path out of Utah, through Arizona, into New Mexico, toward Colorado. At the same time, the victims' credit cards were being used. Fuel purchases across state lines. Each transaction placed him. He wasn't hiding. He was just driving. On March 5th, 2026, the vehicle was found abandoned in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. Miller was located nearby, taken into custody without incident. On him, at the time of arrest, a concealed handgun, a large knife, and all 3 victims' credit cards. He was initially held in Colorado on weapons charges. The FBI conducted an interview. He was later extradited to Utah. When investigators questioned him, he didn't deny anything. He admitted to all the 3 killings, explained the sequence, gave his reason without being pushed. The first victim, for a car. The second and third, for another one, because he didn't like the first vehicle. He also said he needed money to get back to Iowa. And when they asked him why, he said it again. It had to be done. Same words, same tone. The second and third time identical to the first, like he'd settled it in his own head long before anyone asked. Today, Ivan Miller faces 3 counts of aggravated murder, along with charges for theft, burglary, and weapons violations. The case spans Utah DPS, the State Bureau of Investigation, and the FBI. The prosecution has a confession, physical evidence at both scenes, a digital trail across 4 states, and his victims' cards in his pocket when they arrested him. But there are still unanswered questions. The full autopsy reports haven't been released. Ballistics aren't confirmed in full. The complete interrogation transcript isn't public. His family has reportedly mentioned mental health, unconfirmed, but it may shape how the defense approaches the case. There are also contradictions. A shotgun shell with no confirmed shotgun. A claim of necessity, followed by escalation. He already had a car and credit cards after the first killing. He drove to that trail anyway, because he didn't like the Buick. Every system that crossed his path before this, an arrest, a release, a ranger who let him walk, each one became the next step toward March 4th. In rural Utah, with no one around Nothing intervened. And a statement that doesn't match the behavior. He said it had to be done, but nothing in the evidence shows that. Margaret Oldroyd was 86 years old, watching television when he came up behind her. Linda Dewey and Natalie Graves were walking toward a trail on a Tuesday afternoon. What the evidence shows is that once he crossed that line the first time, he never saw a reason to stop.